people today. They could spend half their lives over 50. That's a lot of living. So it helps to have a wise friend and fierce defender in your corner. A friend like AARP. So your health lives longer.
This is just slow-mo karate?
Just slow-mo karate.
Your money lives longer.
I just bought that.
I just sold that.
And your happiness lives longer. That's why the younger you are, the more you need AARP. Join today.
Welcome to AARP Illinois' virtual event. It's so wonderful to have you with us. AARP is on a mission to connect with individuals across various communities, especially those aged 50 and above. We're here to listen, understand, and address the unique needs of you and your community as we age. Our goal is to enrich your experience by expanding our local activities, providing opportunities for you to discover and engage with all that life has to offer right here in your own community and virtually. As we journey through today's event, we invite you to consider joining our dedicated team of AARP volunteers. It's a chance to make a meaningful impact and help us better serve those 50 plus across the nation. Connect with us and be a part of this vibrant movement toward positive change. Welcome, and let's make this event both fun and transformative.
Hello again to the AARP world. Amanda Pyle coming to you here from Morton, Illinois with another edition of My Crafty Corner. Today we're going to be making some super adorable votives and vases that we're going to embellish with some dried decorative flowers and a little bit of Mod Podge. So first I'm going to turn the camera and kind of show you some of the projects that I've been working on myself, and then I'm going to show you how to put them together. Let's get started. Summer is here, and what is more fun than having a little bit of an outdoor get-together on your back patio or on your front porch? These little votives will make everything look extra trendy and extra special, and you can customize them with the flowers and the colors that you like. So here's just a few that I've done ahead of time. I want to first start and show you the vase the votive that I made with dried flowers that I did myself. So I knew I was going to do this video late last year, and so I started drying my own flowers. I went ahead and picked them from my garden, and then I put them into some heavy books, and I dried the flowers, and they looked nice. I thought I was going to be able to use them on the votives, but what I found when I went to go use them is that they just aren't pressed flat enough, and then also weren't preserved enough to keep them from drying out to where they made them more of a bendable texture. So while you could dry your own flowers at home to make this project, it's definitely easier and you get more of a variety to order them. And I would also probably change the techniques a little bit on how I did that, trying to use a preservative on them when I pressed them so that it kept them kind of more pliable. So the flowers that I ordered online come in packages that look like this. I think it was like 10 different varieties that you get in all different colors. I love them all. And what I'm finding as I'm making these votives is that different characteristics about the flowers work well with the different vases or votives that you're using. So some of them are easier to glue on essentially, and some of them not so much. Anything that's a flowery petal, like these two, are going to be super delicate. So when you're going after them in the packaging, it's good to use a set of tweezers. Sometimes these flowers will come with those, or just be very delicate picking them up. These sort of leaves, like are in the yellow here, these adhere really nice. They're super long, they're super bendable, so they cover a lot of ground. Those are probably my favorite leafy type that it comes with to work with. Something like this that looks kind of like the baby's breath here, this is a little bit harder to stick on. I typically end up breaking the stems off down here because they're really woody and hard, and they don't like to bend with the material or with the shape and the curvature of the glasses that I've been using. So they're a little bit trickier to work with, but you can get them to work. So let's see a little bit of each application on the vase and votives. All right, so here's that really long leaf that I was talking about that I just absolutely loved because it stretches the span of the vase. It is very delicate, so you have to be careful when you're working with it and the paintbrush that you don't paint too hard. But I think it looks really cool on there. And then again, the petaled flowers, these all work great. The ones that are a bit more clustery, they're going to require a lot more of that Mod Podge to stick them on and a lot more reapplications of the glue. Here's some more kind of piney looking leaves. I thought those looked pretty cool on there. Some more petal-like flowers. This one here, I put a little bit of rock in there and then stick a candle down inside, and it makes for a really nice photo. You can also do a bigger vase for flowers. I would kind of keep the floral part, the applique that you're adding, to the bottom of the vase because you're not going to see much along the top as you're probably going to have flowers kind of taking over that part. So I just kind of kept mine on the bottom using that same really long leaf that I love to apply right there. A little bit of baby's breath, some daisies. And then its yellow counterpart. This one here, I did go a little taller just so you could kind of see what that looks like, and added a few more different pops of color. These were at the local dollar store. You can even kind of embellish it more at the bottom if you want to do a vase like this, and then kind of keep it simple. Now, any of your long flowers that have the long stems like this, you're going to want to have a straight vase like this one so that they're easier to glue on. Okay, so for today I've got these two long vases to use with our flowers. Both of them are pretty much straight and narrow for the most part. I actually believe this was a beer glass, but I thought, oh, that would make a really cute vase. So we're going to use that today instead. And then we'll of course need the dried flowers. And again, if I were to redo those and make my own again, I would have some sort of preservative like they do here, and I would vacuum seal them so that it kind of keeps the moisture in the flower still. It makes that a little bit easier to bend when you're adding them to your glass fixtures. Then if you want to have something to wrap around your vase, that's totally optional. And then you're going to need a little bit of Mod Podge. There are two different kinds of Mod Podge. There's Mod Podge Matte, and then there's Mod Podge Gloss Luster. And so I like the Gloss Luster. It leaves less of a filmy look, but if you want something that has a little bit more of a, I don't know, I guess this look here, where it's glossy, but it's not quite as see-through, then this would be the lustery type. Whereas the regular gloss kind, you don't really see that at all on your vase overall. All right, and then of course, I've got some flowers that we're gonna put into our vase after we have embellished it. So let's go ahead and get started. So making these vases is actually pretty simple. You're gonna pick your favorite vases, you know, and I just got these at the local supermarket. And then I took off the little bottom sticker from the bottom. Some of the vases that I bought, the sticker was really on there. So I had to soak some of these in like a Dawn dish soap solution for a little bit, and then they peeled right off after that with a razor blade. Today I'm feeling like these red flowers are going to be really fun, and I haven't used these yet. So I'm going to go ahead and go with these, and I'm going to go with the purple. And we'll save these for another day. And dried flowers, as you're going to find, can actually be pretty pricey. So when I bought this assorted pack, I got it for a pretty good deal, and I got a lot of flowers with it, whereas at the supermarket I bought one packet of these, and it was $5. I was able to get all of this amount of assorted flowers for a lot less money online. I'm going to use my scissors to cut my floral packets open. And then I like to actually use my scissors and go up the side as well. And then peel it open. That way I don't break any flowers as I'm trying to take them out of the package. And then I'm allowed to peel them off. And again, they're very delicate. So a pair of tweezers might be beneficial if you have them. And you don't have to use all the flowers. Again, if I'm having trouble getting some to stick, sometimes I just move on and pick a different one. All right, and while I'm getting that ready, I'm going to go ahead and get this one ready as well. I'm really liking these red ones. Perfect. All right, so like I said, these petals, these are going to stick on really easy and nice. More of the clustery type flowers, those take a couple applications of your Mod Podge, and I'm going to explain a little bit more about that as we do it. Hopefully these leaves will be nice and bendable. We'll find out soon. And then something like this with the long stem, I already know I'm going to end up probably breaking this more into pieces and getting rid of these long, really woody stems because they just don't stick on there very well. I'm going to go ahead and use my Mod Podge gloss because I like the way that looks better, particularly on the clear glass. And I like to leave on this all the seals on, as it is kind of a glue and I don't want it to get dried out, so I'm just going to retain that so that I can pop it right back on the top later. And it really just takes a regular old paintbrush for this. If you wash it right away after you use it with the Mod Podge, you can salvage it and use it for another day and another project. But if you don't do that right away, again, it's glue, so the paintbrush doesn't exactly bounce back as well as you'd like to be able to use it for paint or something else later on. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to do our small one first. The first thing you're going to do is just kind of come up with a design for your flowers. What I've found is there's really no rhyme or reason to this. It's just kind of however you want to apply them. And then I'm going to put a layer of the Mod Podge on where I am thinking about applying my first layer of flowers so that there's a glue to stick it on with. Grab a hold of this first one here. I'm going to start out just like that. Now right now, as you can see, this isn't exactly sticking perfectly, but I want to just kind of get some other flowers going on first. And I'm just barely touching them. Now these are going to be so delicate, so just barely touching them could remove the petal altogether. And then I'm going to go in, get a little bit more Mod Podge, and I'm going to start from the center of my flowers and I'm going to move out. And I'm being very delicate as not to try to pull the petal off. And this Mod Podge goes on white, but you're going to notice that it's going to dry clear. And a lot of times, depending on the flower I'm putting on there, it might take several applications of going back and adding more and more Mod Podge. Just kind of depends what you're putting on there. But your goal here is to make sure that everything's flat. Just going to work my way up. And I usually find that moving kind of from the center out gives me the best sticking. And as you can see, that side keeps wanting to pop up, so I already know I'll be revisiting that several more times. But for right now, we're going to go with that. Everything down here appears to be sticking really nice. You'll notice that I put a flower over the stem right here. That's in hopes that it'll help kind of pin it down, because that's definitely one of the things that likes to pop up. But this is going good so far. We just have this corner to worry about, and it'll keep popping up and we'll just keep gluing it back on. All right, so we'll keep kind of moving around our vase there. That's already looking nice. Don't worry, it will dry clear. And we'll go ahead and go on the other side and kind of do exactly the same thing. More flat flowers are definitely so much easier to work with to get to stick, but they're a little bit more work as far as making sure that you're being incredibly delicate when you're putting that glue on. And there you go. That looks great. And again, I'm sure there is a, you know, a better way to apply them as far as where they're going, but I just kind of use the colors and play with them and put them together and see where I like them and then pin them down. Now this is one of those stems we're going to end up clipping off because I can already tell it's not going to want to glue down. It's going to give me some trouble. Get rid of that. And now that's going to be a lot more likely to stay down for us. There we go. And it's okay if the leaves get slightly off and kind of go their own way. It's kind of the beauty of this. Now you could mix and match your colors of flowers. I like just opening one pack at a time, so I've just been using one variety to do one vase. Again, that might be one of those tricky stems, but we'll see what we can do with it for a while, because I like the look. Let's see if we can get it to stick with a couple more applications, and then by the time I get around, I'm ready to go right back to this guy and give him another little stick. It moves along pretty fast once you get the hang of it. Alright, so I'm pretty much around it, but I need to cover this spot right here. It's looking a little bit bare. And a little bit more. All right, we're going to put one more layer of Mod Podge on this one, and then we'll begin the other one. We'll let this Mod Podge dry a bit, and then we will come back after we do the next vase and revisit this one again and see what it's missing, or see if anything needs to be glued back down again. These pink flowers are really nice and easy to work with, just really delicate. And at this point we've used up almost the entire packet. That little trouble stem that we were talking about earlier, so I've decided to just clip it. Hopefully we can get that end to stick down eventually, but if not, we'll clip it off too, no big deal. Alright, now these little guys are going to be very easy to stick on anywhere, and they just look very cool. I'm really liking the red. There we go. You'll be able to see more how that looks after that Mod Podge dries up a bit more. But right now, that's looking pretty amazing. Looks like we got just a couple more of our flowers to work with here from this bunch. And so we may as well put them all on. I'm just going to give them, oops, a little clip. I'm not sure where that, there it was. Okay. I'm going to clip this little stem off the bottom. the rest will glue on nicely. So I'm going to find the most barren place that needs a little bit of color. I would say that's going to be this area right here. What a fun project to do with just about anybody. Grandkids, kids. These would make a lovely gift. But also just doing something nice for yourself, or having a project to do at home with somebody that might be stuck at home and needs something to do, a little bit of different kind of entertainment. I got the vases today for about $3 a piece. The Mod Podge for about $2. So it's not a terribly expensive project outside of the flowers. But again, if you get a bulk bin of flowers, like I did, it wasn't too terribly expensive, and I think we've used them in other projects along the way. Alright, we are almost done with this one. Just gotta decide where I want that last little bit. I'm thinking right here. For this one, that might be one that has a little bit of a hard time sticking. Those darn stems, they're always a problem child. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. Let's take that stem off too, and we'll go with the smaller pieces instead. Alright, and again, I'm going to bust these stems off because they're just a bit more tricky. And we'll use just the little petals here. Alright, so that's looking pretty good. We're going to let that dry for a second while we work on our purple vase. You can already start to see that drying nice and clear. And if you do see a little bit of excess and it's not like holding a flower down, you can wipe it a little clear. And along the base, I'll usually add a bit of Mod Podge to the bottom, just so it kind of all evens out as far as how glossy the vase comes out at the end. Alright, we're going to let that one dry. We're going to move on to this guy, and we're going to do exactly the same thing. And maybe we do the top on this one and not the bottom. I'm going to start by giving a pretty good amount of glue there. Really love the colors on these. I'm liking the way that looks. Same thing. Add a little bit of Mod Podge, and I'm just going to try and keep this around just the top of the jar for this particular one. It's just good to play around and see what you like. A little bit of stem removal there, just the really hard parts, because I know they're going to be a bit troublesome. And we can try, again, fastening a flower where the stems go to kind of help compress those stems down. We're definitely going to have to add some more Mod Podge there. And we're just starting to make our way around the top of the vase. I really like this leaf, so I hope we can get it to stay down. Might just take a couple layers. And once you've saturated it, it's a bit easier to get it to lay down too. So just going back now and all of those flowers that I've placed, I'm giving them a bit of a top coat and layer. So I can hopefully make sure that they're going to adhere and not have any of those bumps or protruding areas. Perfect. Just mixing those greens and purples up a bit so I've got a little transfer of color. And we see all the different colors moving across the top of the vase. Alright, and we've got a couple more flowers and we've got one little empty space back here. And then we'll be finished. We'll let this one dry. We can have a look at the vase we just did with the red flowers and see how that's doing. And then we'll learn how to put together a nice little floral piece that goes in our vase. Ready for our next barbecue. Or whatever outdoor event. Sometimes you don't even need an event. You just want to be outside relaxing. You could even get like a lavender candle or something really soothing to put down inside and give you some of those relaxing scents to go along with a nice candle. This would make a great gift too. I like the way the little flowers there just kind of fell into place. That looks pretty. So we'll finish those out right there because I like that. All right, a little bit of Mod Podge to adhere all those, and those want to move on you a lot, so you have to be a little bit more careful as you apply. If you have a petal, I like to try to lift it up and then put a little glue underneath as well as on top. Again, always from the center of the flower out. Another little stem giving us some trouble. I usually give it a go like 3 times, and if it doesn't want to sit down on me, then I know it probably will just keep popping back up, so I just remove it. And I don't really think you can tell that it used to be there, so. All right. I think we got most of our flowers off of that sheet, but we've got just a couple more of these little tiny blossoms. So I'm just going to pick them off and see if they'll land right in the glue for me. All right, I think we've connected it pretty much all the way around and gone across the top, which looks really nice. We've used up all the flowers in that batch. We'll go back and give them another layer on top here soon. So something else you could do with your vase, if you just want to embellish it even just a little bit more, is put a little cute border around the bottom. So we could just measure out a little bit of our wrap right here. cut it right at the right spot. And then I've got my hot glue gun right behind me. Just trying to decide the best place to put it. I'm thinking right there. Got a little ribbon fastened on. And I've got one little cute sticker embellishment that I like to use to kind of hold that ribbon together there. A little hot glue on that. That's looking pretty nice. We'll set that aside and let it dry, and let's have a look at our red one. Alright, so as you can see, this one is starting to dry and look very, very nice. Everything seems to be sticking and holding down flat, which is amazing. I'm going to give this one more coat of Mod Podge. Really loving this red here. We're going to give it one more coat. And for this one, I have this really cool kind of viney twine that we're just going to wrap around the top and then fasten on with our little glue gun. And again, this would be a completely optional step. If you like the way they look all by themselves, then you certainly don't need to embellish anymore if you don't wish to do so. I always seem to have these little crafty things lying around my house, so it's kind of like, oh, what can I use that for? So I think that looks really cute. You might not be able to see it too much with the flowers in the vase, but we'll give it a try, just because it's fun. I don't need to put that all the way around. I'm just going to put it one spot to kind of hold that in place. And then once I kind of have it where I want it, I can put a second little spot. Wrap it around. And we'll put it in one last little spot for the ending. Clip off our excess. Cute, cute, cute. All right. We'll go ahead and apply that very last coat of Mod Podge here. Doesn't look like it needs it that much, but maybe just for that reassurance that everything is stuck down perfect, we're going to give it that one last coat. And as you can see, this coat goes on so much easier because everything is pretty much glued down at this point. And you can see I am not afraid to be generous with it. And I'm also using this coat to kind of even things out. These stuck down beautifully. Then the red might be my favorite vase thus far. Alright, I think that's a final coat all the way around there. And then I'm just going to kind of touch up the bottom. Even if there isn't anything going on there, just kind of adding a little coat. just so that everything kind of has that same glossy feeling going across the bottom. And you could go all the way up the top if you want, but it's pretty easy to fade it out and it's not super noticeable. So I'm not going to worry about the top because I know I'm going to put some flowers in the vase. Super cute. Let's see how our sunflowers look inside of our new vase. I'm loving the purple and the yellow together. All right. Looks like we've got one down. Perfect. All right, let's go check back on our other one and see how we're liking that. Now this one here, we did some purple flowers with a little banding embellishment here. We're going to give that last coat of Mod Podge here. Everything's sticking really well on here too, so we had great success with both kinds of flowers today. I think this purple might be my favorite. That comes out really nice. But you can kind of get an idea of what everything's going to look like. And it's nice and dry and flat on the vase. And if something is really poking up, again, you just layer on that glue, wait for it to dry, and then add another layer as necessary, but that looks pretty good to me. So we'll let that dry. We'll be able to check back on that later. And let's look at what some of our other embellished vases that we've already done and dried look like. Adding just a couple of the same flowers here. Oh, much nicer in the yellow, I think. Very pretty. Let's try the pink. As you can see, really any flowers can go in the vase. Doesn't really matter what you embellished it with. But that looks really nice as well. Well, I want to thank you for joining us for another episode of My Crafty Corner, where we made all of these amazing floral vases today. And again, you can do any size really and any color. It's just a bit of a process of drying and trying new things. But I'm just loving this red one. I can't wait to see what it's like when it's all dried up. This is kind of the same red kind of look, which I really like. And this one here was kind of a iridescent looking vase to begin with, so that came out really nice. But imagine those on a little platter. Out on your patio. Where can I move that? You could do like one vase in the middle and then some little votives around the edge. Put some adorable candles in there. Thanks for joining us for another episode of My Crafty Corner. Hopefully you guys will make these votives at home. It'll be perfect.